Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Really glad to have this young lady back. A belated happy birthday to Kay Smythe, who was off last week to enjoy a birthday week. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good. I'm feeling old. To
me, you look exactly the same. Nothing happened. It's okay. It's just a day. It's an important day, but it's just a day. Nothing really happened. Now, you've seen the video from 15 years ago. I'm the old one here. Are you kidding me?
No, I think you're aging backwards, actually, Joe. I think you're doing some Benjamin Button thing. Yes. Don't get me wrong. The video from, what was it, 15 years ago?
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic. Beautiful to listen to you. But I think you're better now. Is that just me? I don't know. Everyone needs to go and click. Can we put this link in the link to this video after the show?
We'll put the link. I'll send you the video so you can write something on the Daily Caller. By the way, you can check out what Kay writes every day on the Daily Caller. Also go check her out on Newsmax at least once a week, if not more. And then right here on the Joe Pag Show at least once a week, if not more as well. Kay, we missed you last week. There's a lot to catch up on. I don't think people understand when we say freedom and liberty that we really mean freedom and liberty, that most of us on planet Earth, I hope, thinks that God intended people to be free and have free expression and free thought and can freely travel, unless you're in China. Now, I've been to China, and when I was there, I realized I was in China, and I should probably watch my step, because at any moment I could be thrown into some sort of a Uyghur prison. But it turns out if you decide to go to Disney World in Shanghai, China, you just might not go home. Fill me in on this.
You kind of nailed it, to be honest with you, Joe. So essentially, China and the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, they've taken the science way too far to the point of science fiction, where they're trying to get to this thing that they're calling zero COVID. They don't want any COVID in China. In the same way that I guess Kim Jong-un or whatever over in North Korea has never farted or something. I don't know. It's another stupid idea from another stupid authoritarian
Have you seen
nation.
that guy? He's a walking fart. He's definitely let some go. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Yeah, are you kidding? I'm the fart monster. I should know. I can spot a farter when I see one.
It's definitely he's one. So just now the families save up some money. I don't know what they make in China, and they decide, yes, kids, let's go to Disney World, and then they can't leave.
If you were in Disney World at 11 o'clock or 11:30 on, I think it was Sunday in Shanghai, you would have realized after about 5 minutes that you were locked in Disneyland for a minimum of 3 days, because there were 10 cases, guys. There were 10 cases of COVID identified in that region of Shanghai over the weekend. So obviously the natural thing to do is to lock people inside of random theme parks and buildings. If you were in an IKEA, you're getting locked in an IKEA. If you were in your favorite coffee shop and they were going to be difficult about it, you were locked in your favorite coffee shop. So yeah, an unknown number of people are currently locked in the Shanghai Disneyland theme park. They have to show 3 days of negative COVID tests to be able to get out. So I don't know. Going to Disneyland is kind of my worst nightmare anyway at this point. That's just not for me. But taking your loved ones and then discovering as you run to the park exit that you are locked in because the government says so. Literally, if you can show me anything more dystopian, I'm all ears, because I don't think there is. I don't think there is anything more dystopian than that. Maybe if and when we have to start eating Soylent Green, maybe that's more dystopian. But no, this is what's going on in China, Joe. The place is frickin' crazy.
And again, the goal is zero COVID. So we'll leave you locked in for as long as it takes to get 3 days of negative tests for COVID. If they're using PCR tests, between you and me, they're not very good. Just gonna let you know. So you might show negative even if you are positive of COVID, but they think that it's going to be zero COVID. The only way you get zero COVID is if you kill every person on the planet, which I'm not advocating, by the way. That would be bad. So what is this? First of all, we know what COVID is now. We know how to treat it. We know how these shots aren't doing anything to stop the transmission or from you getting it. So why don't we just treat them and send them home?
That's too logical. And when you run a dictatorship, the easiest thing to do is just to kill everyone. So while people like you and I don't want to kill everyone on the planet to stop COVID,
I'm against that. Yeah.
I personally believe I would not put it past the CCP. Remember, this is This is a regime that forced women into horrific abortions and laughed about it. They've committed genocide en masse. This is the legacy that brought more black people from Africa to China than the Europeans ever brought to America. But the reason that we don't have Asian, African people, I guess, is because they castrated every single man that got on a boat headed for China. This is what China does. If they want to lock you in Disneyland, they're going to do it, and they're going to get away with it. And you're going to say, oh, yeah, that's fine, sorry, because otherwise you're going to the frickin' gulag. This regime is the most evil on the planet and always has been, just my opinion.
I once talked to a billionaire about China and why any business in this country has a relationship, and his answer was, when have we ever really cared about the politics of other countries? And I'm like, this isn't the politics. This is human beings being sacrificed. This is organ harvesting. This is killing the child if it happens to be a girl and not a boy. This is locking people up because they're Muslims. I mean, this is beyond, politically speaking, I disagree with, Wales. This is a little different. This is literally saying human beings don't matter because we, the power structure, need to do all we can to keep this power. It's Kay Smythe. Go to kaysmythe.com. Check out everything she does in the Daily Caller, on Newsmax, on my show, wherever she happens to be. You need to be there as well. Let's talk about Paul Pelosi, our boy. So, well, first and foremost, Nancy said early on he's going to make a full recovery. So I have no problem speculating with a humorous, flair. Paul Pelosi is living in a mansion that's surrounded by a wall. Because she's in the government, when Nancy is there, she's got security from the government protecting her. She didn't happen to be there. You know that building has all sorts of security and surveillance cameras. You know that. You know they probably have private guards that are on call anytime you need them. We know that the outside of the building shows a shattered piece of glass where the guy allegedly gets in, but the glass is on the outside, not on the inside. I would think it would be on the inside if you're pushing your way in. And then the cops show up, and they're both holding a hammer. Nobody's been hit yet, and the guy decides to hit him in front of the cops after letting Paul Pelosi go to the bathroom, and everybody's wearing underwear. Okay, fill me in. Is this some MAGA guy that went crazy? This guy is as much MAGA as Jussie Smollett saw MAGA people in Chicago. Fill me on your thoughts on this.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about it. Look, I think we can all sit and speculate over what a dude in his underwear was doing holding a hammer in the Pelosi residence. There are a lot of crazy people. California is a very crazy place, thanks to people like Nancy Pelosi and her far leftist policies.
Yes.
San Francisco is a dump. It is an absolute dump of a city. It's unfortunate. I used to love it. So when I hear about, random break-ins, violent attacks, Joe, I got my start in radio because I wrote a spoofy article about what a dump LA had become because of the homeless crisis and because this transient, let's never have real jobs and live in communes, but in cities and steal things kind of drug mentality, right? This is my bread and butter. Does not surprise me when this happens, devastates me, but we're trying to work through it in our own ways, aren't we? The bit that loses me, because I think you can explain away almost everything in this entire situation, but the bit that loses me is that clearly things went sour in some way.
Yeah.
Either this is literally a lover's tiff, in my opinion. It's either a lover's tiff that's gone wrong and the police had to be called, or there is something very suspect. And I'm glad you brought up Jussie Smollett, because when you listen to the 911 call from Paul Pelosi, it is honestly, the first time I heard it, I was like, is he literally talking about a friend of his that's at his house and is gone a bit nuts?
That's what it sounded like. It's exactly, he knows the guy's name. He's talking about him in a familial way. And then we find out when we do a little research, Kay, a couple of reporters dared to do reporting. They went to the guy's house. The Castro neighborhood of San Francisco, I guess, is even more gay than other areas. He's got a pride flag out front, pro-hemp. He's a nudist. Is this a MAGA guy? Literally, you've got people on CNBC, MSNBC, and CNN trying to pretend that this was somehow violence that was stoked by Trump.
Yeah, I think if there's like, it's like one of like 4 or 5 different things, right? Either he was paid by the Democrats to do this, and then, maybe we'll hear him spew off on TV that he was a MAGA Trump guy, even though there's no evidence for it. He was paid by another far leftist group to do the same thing, which is not uncommon. Like, you see these stupid, ugly children, because they are all ugly. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Pretty ugly. Yeah.
If you woke, it's like, oh, I'm woke now. I've just decided to be ugly. But all these stupid, ugly children who keep throwing like paint and food at these priceless paintings, a lot of them are paid, apparently. A lot of them are paid to actually carry out those acts of,
Right.
Vandalism, of violence, because it bleeds into the social consciousness. So like, if you do it for long enough of this society will have this assumption, this presumption that you're going to behave that way and other people like you are going to behave that way. What I find really interesting is save for there was like a whole thing, like a bunch of Proud Boys like marched in the streets a few years ago. I remember that. But like since then, I couldn't, off the top of my head, maybe I'm being ignorant, I can't think of any MAGA person that's gone out and committed an act of violence or like an act of terrorism. For being like on the sort of platform of being MAGA.
Right.
Like it seems to be all far leftists, it's Satanists,
Right.
or it's racists.
No, I'm
Right?
with you. Wholeheartedly. You're absolutely right. They keep on trying to say MAGA is violent, which is just make America great again. It's not. And all they have to do is release the surveillance video from Nancy Pelosi's house, and let's see, did Paul let him in? Were they hanging out? Were they chilling? I mean, what exactly was going on? Why did he know the guy? Why did he know the guy's name? Why did he say, hey, there's an issue? We're not getting the true story, yet somehow and some way, every single leftist outlet is making this about right-wing violence, which is just stupid. It is, listen, it's stupid. It's just, I can't say it. It just is. I got to move on from that because we're going to run out of time otherwise. But I'm guessing you agree with me, though. A lot more is going to come out about this.
I don't think a lot more is going to come out. I think they're going to move on to the news cycle and we're all going to be told to forget about it. So it's up to people like you and I to keep pushing it.
And we will. Yeah. It's K-Smythe. Go to ksmythe.com. SNL. I don't watch it anymore. Stopped watching it a long time ago. And Twitter, sort of in one story, they broke the left in about 3 days. They're completely broken. Sarah Bareilles, who I guess is a pretty good singer, has decided she's gonna pack up and leave Twitter. She just can't be on Twitter. Rob Reiner, I think, is gonna have a heart attack. He needs to calm down on Twitter. You've got people like Jimmy Kimmel who calling Elon Musk names because he dared buy a website and say, all right, your unfair advantage is gone. Let's everybody just be able to say whatever you want. So I didn't see Saturday Night Live. Fill me in. Should I try to go and see this? Was it that good?
Give me another week and I'll answer that for you.
Okay.
Because this was a good one, but it's the first good one after a long line of really, 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 really bad ones. So SNL, for their spooky Halloween episode this weekend, Joe, they did... it's so hard to describe it without giving it away, and I really want people to go and watch the clip on YouTube. But basically, the premise is like a haunted house. It's like a trailer for a movie, and it's like the scariest thing that could possibly happen, blah, 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 blah. Like all like the graphics coming to a cinema near you or whatever.
Right.
And the first half of it is, hey, babe. It's like a woman talking to her husband. She's like watching the TV. She's like, babe, there's an ad saying that Biden's going to run in 2024. And then the husband comes in, well, he won against Trump the last time. He could do it again. And then the girlfriend's like, he couldn't win against DeSantis. And then it kind of like, that's the whole premise, right? It's like all the libs are melting down because Biden's too useless to run. And they're like, oh crap, like we need someone better. And then it goes even further. And it's like, well, who are we gonna get? And there's like blood dripping down the walls from like a demon haunting. And it's like Bernie. And then like the scariest thing you could possibly imagine is like a Beto 2024 flyer slides under the door.
Oh, that's
and
good.
then it like goes on and on like that. And then you see one of the characters in like the back of the room, like twitching out, like he's possessed. And he turns around, there's blood coming out of his mouth and his eyes are black. And he's just like, what about Hillary? And then everyone like melts down and has a nervous breakdown. They're just like, no. and they
I think I should see it.
shredded them.
Well,
Shredded them.
somebody will apologize at some point because they're not going to get away with it. Obviously, the left is going to freak out over that. But let's talk a little bit about Elon Musk. Have you seen a sea change? I've gained, I don't know, 7,000 or 8,000 followers in just a few days, and people now can see what I'm posting. He's starting to actually post. Elon Musk is conversations between him and Agrawal. He's starting to post some of the inside conversations that we're having about squelching reach and not letting people. He's outing the fact that they were lying about how many bots there were on the site. I mean, he's broken them. They are broken. Have you seen? Does it feel freeing for you as it does for me to be on that site now?
Oh no, I'll feel free when I can take my cell phone and throw it as far as I possibly can and never have to look at it again. But I'm a bit of a tech extremist.
Yes.
I think it's the worst thing in the whole universe.
Yes.
But in terms of using Twitter, I can't even remember. Oh no, I know exactly what it was that I posted. I wrote, "Oh my God, there are literally people on my Instagram deleting their Twitter because Elon's bought it. I thought this was a myth. I didn't think these people were real. It's ridiculous." And it's like, Joe, it's all these like fake failed actor liberals
Right.
that I knew back in LA who can't read, let alone like use Twitter in any kind of meaningful way or use it for any of, they're on social media because just in case, I might get a part on Days of Our Lives and therefore I must have Twitter so people can like me because my dad doesn't call me and say that. So this is where I get my validation. So it's all people like that who are now coming off Twitter, right? And it's hysterical to me. I'm just like, oh my God, guys, melt down, be my guest, be little crybabies.
It's so
We didn't
strange.
need you in the conversation anyway. You're all our apocalypse food. Bye.
I liken it to this, and you're from the UK, so you might not understand baseball. But on baseball, sorry, baseball, you've got 9 players on each side, right? It would be like your team had 18 players, my team had 9, and you were really mad that the umpire said you can only have 9. All we did was level the playing field. All we did was say, let's everybody have a shot. Let's everybody say what they want. Let's everybody be funny if they want to be funny, and then move on. It's not that difficult. Okay, we're frankly out of time. I missed you. I'm glad that you had a good birthday. Best to John and to your parents as well. Do me a favor. I know you hate tech. Go and spend some time on Twitter. A, you probably get verified soon. They'll stop that game. And B, I think you're going to see some real conversations that you were missing.
Well, thank you. I will, Joe, and I missed you, and I'm just so happy to be back. I'll be back next week with a big swollen face after my surgery.
Oh, no. We'll talk more about that next time. Kay, thank you very much. Go to ksmyth.com, and we're back after this. Stay here.